Our first teller this morning, coming right out of the box, is Nestor Gomez. Nestor comes to us from Chicago. Came all the way down here and paid his own entry fees, and your applause is his only reward, as we say in Texas. Nestor is an amazing man, an immigrant who's now an American citizen, a man who has mastered both the moth type of storytelling and the storytelling community that focuses on storytelling festivals. Very few people have ever been able to be equally successful at both. His new book, because he spends some time as an Uber driver, is called Your Driver Has Arrived. And you want to get a copy of it to take home because the stories in it are going to set your heart on fire. Please welcome to the stage Nestor Gomez.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for having me here. It's an honor. I was going to start with saying that when I was little, but obviously I'm still little. So instead, let me say when I was much, much younger. I was born and raised in Guatemala. And I remember I was at home. I was about 10 years old, and I was at home eating beans from my mother's kitchen. And when I say that I'm eating beans from my mother's kitchen, I mean that I was with my last piece of bread, scraping the beans, making sure that the plate was clean, and just getting ready to eat those beans and just taste the last of the beans when my mother interrupted me. And she looked at me and she said, I need you to be the man of the house. Now, I was only 10 years old, so I'm like, oh, I have to be the man of the house. What is this all about? So my mom explained to me that she needed me to be the man in charge of taking the dolls that we made in Guatemala. We made these dolls in Guatemala. They are worry dolls. I know worry dolls are supposed to be really tiny. Does everybody knows what a worry doll is? Yes, okay. So I know they're supposed to be very tiny, but the bigger that you make them, the more money you make. So obviously, we made them bigger. We made them some as big as me, which wasn't that big. And we took them to the airport and the stores where the white people, the tourists, will come and buy the dolls. And we dressed them with the attire of the native people of Guatemala. That's how my family made a living. And I still have an uncle that's making them. He sent them to me. I have a few of them for sale there, so you want to buy them? Go ahead. So that's how my family made a living in Guatemala. But my mother needed me to take the dolls to the airport and the stores, because everybody in the family participated on the making of the dolls. But my mother couldn't afford to get away from the sewing machine because she was the only one that used the sewing machine, and she couldn't afford to get away from the sewing machine to deliver the dolls. It would take too much time. And I know you're probably wondering, why would your dad do that? Yeah, my father did that most of the time. But the problem was that my father had a drinking problem. So my father had no problem taking the dolls to the market. The problem was that he never brought the money back. So my mother needed me, her 10-year-old son, to be in charge of delivering the dolls. Now, when I say that I was raised and born in Guatemala and Guatemala City, I mean that I live in Chambord, like people that say that they're from Chicago, but they're actually from the suburbs. So I was close to the city, but not really close. It took about an hour and a half on the bus from where we live to the airport. But my mother needed me to be in charge of doing that, so I had to pay attention what bus we're going to take, how we get there. So the next day, we are on the bus stop, and my mom was like, pay attention. I need you to be the man of the house. So I pay attention what bus we're taking on the bus stop, where we get out, and we take another bus that's going to take us to the airport, how we go to the stores, how we deliver the dolls, what person we need to talk to. I'm paying attention, I'm paying attention, I'm paying attention as we get out of the airport, and we go to the terminal to take the bus that's going to take us back to our house. The problem was that this is in the mid-1980s, and there was a lot of problems in Guatemala. One of the problems is that the owners of the buses were not paying the drivers enough. So they went on strike. The drivers went on strike. So when we got to the terminal, there was a crowd of people waiting for the bus. And when I say they were waiting for the bus, I don't mean like they were on a line, one after the other. No, it was a crowd of people waiting for the bus. My mom grabbed my hand and she said, do not let go. Because if you let go, I might never see you again. Do not let go. The bus came, and I remember seeing the bus at a distance. And even before the bus stopped, people were trying to get into the bus. Me and my mom, we were on the back of the crowd, and we tried to make our way through. We didn't get anywhere close to the bus. The bus took off. We had to wait for the next bus. More people kept coming, and more people kept coming. It was a huge crowd waiting for the one bus that was going to come in 2 hours. So 2 hours later, when I see the bus coming, my mom grabs my hand really hard, and I start tugging at her hand, and I start talking until she let go, and I took off running. You see, unknown to my mother, me and my friends had this game after school. We used to wait at the bus stop, wait for the bus, and when the bus was about to leave, we used to go to the back of the bus, grab onto the ladder of the bus, because the buses that we use in Guatemala are the old buses that they use here for the school bus. So I used to grab onto the ladder and catch a little ride on the bus. Now, this was very dangerous, because if I let go and I fell, the car that was coming behind the bus is not going to stop. I'm going to become a bump in the road. Or I might break my leg, I might break my arm. But we were little kids with nothing better to do. We didn't have video games. So we went to the bus stop and we caught little rides. For us, it was amazing. It was very dangerous, but that's how we have fun. So when I see the bus coming, I know that's what I have to do. So I run to the bus, and I see the bus coming, and I run, and I catch the ladder, and I open the back door of the bus. I go into the bus, and I threw myself on the seats, saving a seat for me and one for my mom. The bus comes to a stop, and I see people coming through the windows, coming in through the door, to the back door that I left open. I'm there, saving a seat for me and one for my mom. And I don't see my mom. Where's my mom? The bus is filling up, and I don't see my mom. So I get up, and I immediately lost the shirt that I was saving for my mom. I look out the window, and I see my mom all the way on the back of the crowd looking for me. My son, where's my son? And I go, Mom! My mom's all the way on the back of the crowd, and she sees me, and she goes crazy. This 5 feet tall woman walks to a guy that is 6 feet tall and punches him on the face, kicks another lady, elbows another lady, pulls somebody by the hair, kicks, pushes. She makes her way to the front of the bus, gets on the bus. The people inside the bus that see my mom fight her way to the front of the bus see her, and they go. I look at the guy that's sitting where my mom's supposed to be sitting, and I look at him. She's going to kick your ass. My mom walks to the back of the bus when I'm trying to save a seat for her, and I point at the guy, and my mom looks at me, and she grabs me. I told you not to let go. Why are you crazy? I thought I lost you forever. And then she said those words. Just wait until we get home. Just wait until we get home. I know she's going to kill me. I was trying to be the man of the house, but I made her mad. She's screaming at me, and then to make things matters worse, because I only saved one seat, she sits and she puts me on her lap. I'm trying to be the man of the house, and I'm sitting there on her lap like a little baby. Oh, just wait until you get home. Oh, yes, wait. Oh, you just don't know what's going to happen to you. I told you not to let go. I told you not to let go. And I'm mad because I'm trying to be the man of the house, but I'm also tired for all the running, tired because it's been a long day, tired because I want some beans. I'm tired, and because I'm on her lap, and because she's talking to me, I start to feel sleepy. I start to close my eyes, And as I'm about to fall asleep, I could still hear her voice. You scared me so much, my little man of the house. I kept going to the airport to deliver the dolls and trying to be the man of the house to help my mother. For 2 years, I kept doing it every time. And I have no problem getting on the bus, getting out of the bus, going to the airport, coming back. The trouble for me was no problem. I memorized what buses to take. I was really good at getting in the buses and hiding the money so nobody would steal it from me. But there was one problem. And the problem was that I used to stutter really badly. So going to the stores was no problem. The problem was when I had to talk to the people at the stores. And I had to go like, my family, trying to explain that my family made those dolls and I was trying to sell them. It was a nightmare for me. So after about 2 years of doing that, I decided I'm going to tell my brother, my younger brother, to come with me. And I convinced my mom to allow me to bring my brother. And then I went to my brother and told my brother, hey, I want you to come with me. And my brother like, no. He wanted to keep on playing soccer with his friends. So I had to tell my little brother my secret. My secret was that every time that I managed to sell the dolls and make some money, I would go to the park nearby and I'll buy myself some mangoes or some candies or some corn or sodas, things that my mother would never allow me to buy on my own. And that's what I did. I mean, my mother knew, but I guess she didn't mind because my father took all the money. I took some of the money. Compared to my dad, I was taking just a little bit. So my mom didn't care. So I told my brother, and tomorrow is your birthday. So we could go, get some money, and buy you a birthday cake. My brother never had a birthday cake. He was so happy. He's like, yeah, I'll go with you. So the next day, I come to the stores at the airport, and this time my brother is going to be the one that's going to be talking. And my brother is 7 years old, and my brother like, we're here to sell these dolls. My family make them, and that's how we make money. And the lady at the store says, yeah, I know. Your mother told me you were going to bring these dolls, and she said to leave them on credit. My brother looks at me, and I look at my brother. I go, no, money. The lady looks at me and says, no, your mother said to leave them on credit. I look at my brother, I look at the lady and say, no. And the lady says, you don't want to leave the dolls here? Okay, try to sell them at another store. At this market, there's like 100 stores. Try to sell them, she said. Go and try to sell them. I wanted to give my baby brother a birthday cake. So I grabbed my brother, and we go to another store, and my brother walks up. Our family makes these dolls, and this is how you make a living. And today is my birthday, and I want some birthday cake. Now, if this was a movie, this was the moment where the lady at the store sees my little brother trying to buy a birthday cake, sees me, and sees that that's how we make a living, and she buys all the dolls, and she orders some more, and buys a birthday cake for my brother. But this is real life. And the lady says no. But my brother's okay. We go to another store, and the lady there says no. We go to another store, and they say no to another one, and another one, and another one. And every time they say no, my brother's a little bit less enthusiastic. We're selling this doll. You want to buy? Okay, no, yeah, thank you. To the point where my brother doesn't want to talk anymore, doesn't want to say anything. And I look at my brother, and I want to buy him some cake, and I don't want to see him crying. So I decide I'm going to be doing the talking. I'm going to sell these dolls. I'm going to try. So I grab the dolls, and I go, brother, birthday? No. I go to another store. No. Every store, they say no. If this was real life, they would have seen me trying to sell the dolls, trying to buy my baby boy, my baby brother a birthday cake, and they would buy the dolls and order some more and give us extra money. But this was real life, and everybody kept saying no. Until finally we ran out of stores, and we had to go back to the first store to leave the dolls there in credit. And the lady sees me and my brother walking, defeated, and she says, you thought it was going to be easy to sell the dolls. You thought it's going to be easy? Don't nobody wants to buy you dolls. And you know what? She says, I called everybody and told them not to buy anything from you. I know. And we had to walk away from there, leave the dolls with her, feeling defeated, feeling humiliated. And my brother is crying, and I'm trying not to cry. And I start crying when I try to tell my brother that I'm sorry, that I couldn't sell the dolls, that I wanted to buy him birthday cake. And my brother looks at me and says, you try. You really, really, really try. And if this was a movie, this would be the moment when I suddenly start speaking without any problems. I don't stutter anymore, and I talk and talk and talk. But this is real life. And it took me 30 years to get over my stuttering. Even after I came to the United States, I was starting to talk a little bit, and then having to learn a new language, having to be in a new country, I started to stutter in English. I became a bilingual stutterer. It took me forever to get over my fear of public speaking. And every time that I stutter, and every time that people make fun of me, and every time that I try, I can remember my little brother's voice. You try. You really, really try. So I kept on trying. And I kept on trying until I finally got over my fear of public speaking. And now I'm here telling you my stories, sharing with you. Trying was something that my family taught me since I was a little kid, because we were trying to make a living in the middle of a civil war in Guatemala. We were selling our dolls. We were trying to make money. But the civil war kept getting worse and worse. Whenever my mother sold a lot of dolls and I came back with a lot of money, my mom made huge meals for everybody. She bought meat. She bought chicken, lamb, vegetables, dessert, but they're always black beans from her kitchen, which were my favorite food. And when that civil war started to get really bad in Guatemala, and we couldn't sell enough dolls to make a proper living, sometimes the only thing to eat were black beans from my mother's kitchen, which was fine because that's one of my favorite foods. So we're like, black beans, we cool, no problem. But things continued to get worse, and the news started to tell people, don't go to Guatemala because you're going to get killed. So tourists stopped coming to Guatemala, and we couldn't sell any dolls. There were times where the only food that we had that were black beans was spoiled because my mother couldn't pay the electrical bill, and they would spoil after a couple of days. To this day, I can clearly see my mother adding baking soda to the pot of beans to take away the smell and the taste so we could eat them like that. But things continued to get so bad that eventually my parents decided to emigrate to the United States. And they came here, and for 5 years, they left us behind with my uncles and my grandparents. It took 5 years for my parents to put enough money together to bring us to this country undocumented. And I remember when we finally arrived to Chicago, and we were knocking on my mother's apartment, and she opened the door, and me, my older sister, and my little brother just clung to her back. A little baby who was just a little baby brother who was just a baby when my mother left didn't know my mother anymore. He just stood there not knowing what to do. He finally got hungry and asked my mother for some food, and my mother gave him some cookies, and he said, thank you, señora. Gracias, lady. Thank you, lady. And my mother got down on her knees and said, I'm your mother. Don't you recognize me anymore? We were also hungry, so we're like, there's some cookies for us? And my mom said, don't worry, I'm going to take you to a special place to celebrate that we are back together. She took us to McDonald's. And I know it sounds funny because McDonald's is a fast food restaurant, but we were poor people in Guatemala. So McDonald's, sometimes it was reserved for a birthday or celebration or somebody's graduation. So we go to McDonald's, and I see my mother ordering in English, number 1, number 2, soda. I'm like, wow, my mom speaks English. Little did I know my mother could only say number 1, number 2, and sodas. But maybe because this was a new country, and we couldn't speak the language, and everything was so different, the meal didn't taste special to us. We barely ate anything. My mother took us on a sightseeing tour of Chicago. She took us to the Sears Tower. It would always be the Sears Tower to me. She took us to the zoo to see the animals, and then she took us to Lake Michigan. I don't know, a lake is you're supposed to see the other side of the lake, but Lake Michigan is like an ocean. And while we were watching Lake Michigan, we met a friend of my mom from work who was also from Guatemala. So he got really excited when he learned that we had just arrived, and he said, I'm gonna take you to a special place to celebrate. We're gonna take us back to McDonald's. But he took us to a restaurant, an American restaurant with a Latin flair. And he said, I'm gonna order the most expensive thing on the menu, black beans. And it was funny because in Guatemala, we ate black beans when we had nothing more to eat. And now it was an expensive meal and an expensive restaurant. And it was really funny because when I tasted them, they kind of tasted like black beans that had spoiled and been cured with baking soda. They didn't taste that good. So I barely ate anything. My siblings barely ate anything. We continued our sightseeing tour. And when we finally arrived back to my mother's apartment, it was late. We were tired. We were starving. And my mother said, are you guys hungry? And we were starving. You're like, yeah. So she told us to sit down in the kitchen while she makes something to eat. And then she called us to the dining room. And as we sat around the table, and my mother started to pray, and I pretended to do the same. And I looked at my siblings and my parents, and I was about to eat black beans from my mother's kitchen. I was finally back at home. Thank you. And thank you for making me feel at home. Thank you.